Hey, it's Darren, and I want to talk about truth and deception. We are living in an age right now where it's very difficult as an ethical, human hearted leader, as a queer leader who wants to lead with integrity and make a difference, to deal with the amount of falsehood and outright lies. It is very difficult right now to make a difference when there are thousands of people that have been completely swayed either by an ideology or someone in power who keeps saying the same stupid shit over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, so that that group of people believes that because they keep hearing it, it therefore must be true. There's an aspect in leadership of personal responsibility, which doesn't mean everything is about you. It means taking ownership of a problem, and in this case, truth. What is truth? Questioning what you know, what you believe to be true, why you think it's true, where the evidence lives that proves to you that your beliefs are true, and allowing for a gap or a space in how you think and how you perceive. Call that intellectual calm, or enough space left in your belief systems about things such that when someone has a conversation with you, or you read a book, or you're doing some research about something, I don't know, a light bulb goes off, or you ask yourself another question, and it's that moment where you think, huh, I have to actually take some time to consider now that what I thought to be true, or what I thought to be right, maybe it still is, right? Maybe it's just something that has come up that is making you question or look at some of the nuances. Or perhaps it's a really pivotal, transformational moment that makes you look at what you've believed for so long and you add to it, or you let it go and you take on that next thing that makes so much more sense. So, truth is an interesting philosophical dilemma, I guess you could say, because what I'm doing right now, speaking, are a bunch of different words. And if somebody had the exact same idea, well, it wouldn't be the exact same idea because it's my idea, but their idea of what truth meant would be influenced by who they are and everything they've learned and their language and vocabulary and tone and message of delivery. So they might say things in a different way with a different set of words, which might be so much more compelling than the way in which I can explain it to you, that you may be swayed by their articulation, by the narrative, right? We are, each and every one of us, personally responsible to take information in as we see the world, our perspective, and give careful consideration to what we believe to be true. There's enough information out there that we can safely say this and this and this come together to substantiate, to give credence to this belief or this thing that I believe to be true. The problem is, far too many people are believing what one person is saying and says again and says again and says again. And that person will often say it with anger, with self-righteousness, or with some form of making a group of people feel better about themselves because they've convinced them that they're going to fight for them and for their rights and what they've lost. Of course, none of this ever comes to pass. That's the nature of that kind of politics, but that's a story for another day. I want to read just a couple of lines from The Activists, Tao Te Ching, Ancient Advice for Modern Revolution by William Martin. This is an interpretation of the chapters, not a translation. And chapter 65 here is this true? It's confronting falsehoods or questionable statements by saying, oh, really? Is that true? So the chapter starts off, so many things we know are true are simply conditioned beliefs used to keep us docile, compliant, and afraid. The first step in transformation is to learn what we do not know, what we think we know. What we think we know. That's so interesting. Then our not knowing will create a space in which true knowledge might emerge. Later on, the commentary in this chapter says that from the moment we take our first breath, cultural conditioning begins its work of shaping us into people we are supposed to be. Norms, status quo, religion, ideology, politics, the nature of a particular family unit that has done things following different traditions or patterns of their culture. And if we don't ever take a moment to step back and wonder, why do I believe this? Why do I think I believe this? We are not taking ethical, personal responsibility for why we think what we believe is true. Sad to say, this is the majority of the population. Many people just don't know how to do this. They haven't been taught. They haven't been given these skills. So for those of us that maybe have these skills or have this awareness, it's not to be better than. It is to truly lead by inspiring other people to follow your lead of taking the personal responsibility to think for yourself, to check the facts, to check the sources, to find out, does this make sense to me at the level at which I'm able to understand it? And I think a part of truth that isn't often always talked about as much as it could be is, how does this connect us all? Is this creating separation, or is this creating connection and understanding? You don't have to like someone. You don't have to agree with someone. You can still come to a consensus that you can respect another person's belief or whatever it may be, but you can still have respect because you recognize the person as a human being just like yourself. It becomes very difficult if that other person is not willing to cross that bridge, to be able to pass you on the bridge and go, you deserve to pass on this bridge as much as I do. And this back and forth, passing each other on the bridge of life, is a very fluid dynamic. We don't have to know each other. We don't have to be friends. We don't have to like each other. But we can recognize each other to have the inherent dignity of understanding why we believe what we believe to be true. When it becomes a problem is when belief systems exclude other people from being part of humanity. And this is when we need to challenge the horrible falsehoods that are being shouted out today, that are coming from various political leaders and are coming from different regions around the globe right now where a genocide is happening, for example, where anyone who is saying this is not genocide is completely delusional. Delusional because they're not looking at the truth, and they're refusing to put themselves into an environment where they would see the truth before their very eyes, because they have convinced themselves that they do not need to think about why they believe what they believe to be true.